They told you to calm down, to quiet your thoughts, to stop overthinking. But what if the noise in your mind isn't chaos at all? What if it's the sound of something powerful trying to break free? The truth is, every great transformation begins as a fire inside the mind, a spark of curiosity, a flash of defiance, a whisper that says, "I can be more." This is not a story about control. It's about ignition. It's about setting your thoughts ablaze until they forge you into something unrecognizable, something unstoppable. Your mind is on fire, and today we let it burn for greatness. Chapter 1. The Spark of Awareness. Greatness begins the moment you realize that your thoughts create your reality. Every belief, every habit, every decision starts in the quiet forge of your mind. Awareness is the match that lights the flame. It's not about judging your thoughts, it's about seeing them clearly. The mind, once observed, starts to reshape itself. When you become conscious of your fears, they shrink. When you notice your doubts, they lose power. The spark is born when you start watching, not reacting. Awareness is your ignition. Most people move through life asleep, not in the literal sense, but mentally. They wake up, go through their routines, face the same problems, think the same thoughts, and wonder why nothing ever changes. What they don't realize is that their external world is simply a reflection of their internal one. Every experience, every obstacle, every triumph begins with thought. The power to change your life doesn't come from force or luck. It begins when you start paying attention to the way your mind operates. Awareness is the first step in transformation because it reveals the invisible patterns that control you. When you observe yourself closely, you begin to notice how certain thoughts lead to certain emotions and how those emotions lead to specific actions. You start to see the chain reaction of your inner world. For example, a simple negative thought, "I'm not good enough," may lead to hesitation. Hesitation leads to inaction, and inaction leads to regret. But if you catch that thought as it arises, if you shine the light of awareness on it, the cycle breaks. Suddenly, you are no longer the prisoner of your thinking, you become its master. The spark of awareness often starts small. It may come in a moment of silence, a pause before reacting, or a brief instant of clarity when you realize, "I don't have to think this way." That single realization can change the trajectory of your life. It's as if a light flickers on in a dark room, revealing everything that was always there but unseen. Awareness doesn't create new possibilities. It shows you the ones that were already waiting for you. Think of your mind as a vast landscape. Most people only see a few familiar paths, the ones they've walked countless times before. These are habits of thought, deeply worn grooves that feel natural and automatic. Awareness is what allows you to step off those beaten trails and explore new territory. You begin to see where your thoughts lead, where they trap you, and where they can set you free. But awareness requires courage. It's not easy to look at your mind honestly. You might discover fears you've avoided or truths you've buried. You may realize that some of your pain has been self-inflicted, born from assumptions and beliefs you never questioned. Yet this confrontation is not a punishment, it's liberation. Awareness gives you the power to stop living on autopilot and start living by intention. There's a story of a monk who meditated beside a river every morning. One day he noticed that the water was perfectly still at dawn, but by midday it was full of ripples and movement. He realized that his mind worked the same way. When he was still, he could see his reflection clearly, but when stirred by distractions, his perception became distorted. Awareness is that stillness. It allows you to see your thoughts for what they are, temporary waves on the surface of the mind. The more you practice awareness, the more you begin to notice subtle things, the tension that arises before you speak in fear, the quick reaction when someone criticizes you, the mental stories you replay about past mistakes. Each moment of noticing is a spark. Over time, those sparks accumulate, and soon they ignite a fire of clarity that transforms everything you touch. Many people believe awareness is passive, that it's simply about observing, but true awareness is active. It's the art of conscious attention, of deliberately choosing where to focus your energy. When you become aware, you reclaim one of the most valuable powers a human being can possess, the ability to decide what your mind will dwell upon. Instead of being dragged by the current of random thoughts, you learn to steer the ship. Imagine standing before a roaring fire. You can't control the flames by force, but you can choose how to feed them. Your attention is that fuel. If you constantly feed your fears, they will grow. If you feed your curiosity, confidence, and gratitude, they will thrive. Awareness helps you recognize what you're feeding. Once you see it, you can choose differently. One of the greatest misunderstandings about personal growth is that change requires massive effort. It doesn't. It requires attention. When you bring awareness to a habit, it begins to unravel naturally. The act of noticing breaks its automatic hold. A person who realizes they are complaining becomes less likely to complain. Someone who notices their self-doubt begins to question it. Change starts not with a decision to act differently, but with the recognition of what's happening inside you right now. Awareness also teaches humility. The more you observe your mind, the more you realize how much of it operates without your permission. Thoughts come and go like passing clouds. You don't create them all. You simply choose which ones to believe. And once you realize that, a new kind of freedom opens up, the freedom to choose your focus, to detach from destructive thinking, and to align your mind with your purpose. The spark of awareness doesn't demand perfection, it invites curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" ask, "What can I learn from this moment?" Every reaction, every discomfort, every fear is a doorway to understanding yourself better. When you treat your inner world as a classroom rather than a courtroom, growth becomes natural. In the beginning, awareness might feel uncomfortable. It's like turning on a bright light in a messy room. You'll see things you didn't want to see. The clutter of old beliefs, the dust of forgotten pain, the broken furniture of unresolved memories. But remember, seeing the mess is the first step to cleaning it. Awareness doesn't judge the room, it just illuminates it. Once you can see clearly, you can begin to rearrange, repair, and rebuild. Over time, this awareness becomes second nature. You start noticing your emotional state without being consumed by it. You observe your anger without becoming it. You watch your anxiety arise and pass like weather. You no longer drown in your thoughts. You surf them. That's the difference between living unconsciously and living awake. And as you deepen your awareness, something extraordinary happens. The gap between thought and action widens. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause. That pause is power. It's the space where choice lives. It's where transformation begins. In that brief silence, you can decide to act with wisdom rather than habit, with intention rather than impulse. The spark of awareness is the foundation of every great achievement. Before any dream is realized, the dreamer must first awaken. Before any fire can blaze, there must be a match. Awareness is that match. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it makes you conscious enough to start asking the right questions. So pause for a moment and look inward. Notice your thoughts, your breath, the sensations in your body. Ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? How does it make me feel? Why? That simple act of attention is the beginning of mastery. You are stepping out of unconscious living and into deliberate creation. This is the spark of awareness, the first flame that lights the journey to greatness. It is gentle yet powerful, subtle yet transformative. The more you tend to it, the brighter it burns. And once you awaken to its presence, you can never truly fall asleep again. Chapter 2. Feeding the flame. A fire, no matter how bright it burns, will eventually fade if it isn't fed. The same is true of your mind. Awareness may have sparked the flame within you, but if you want that flame to grow into a source of strength and clarity, you must nourish it with the right fuel. What you feed your mind determines the shape of your destiny. The thoughts you think, the people you surround yourself with, the information you consume, the conversations you entertain, all of these are forms of nourishment. Some fuel burns clean and bright, propelling you forward. Other fuel smokes and suffocates the fire. Feeding the flame means becoming conscious of what you allow into your mental world. The human mind is like a furnace. It will burn whatever you put into it. If you feed it fear, negativity, gossip, and doubt, it will produce confusion and hesitation. But if you feed it knowledge, inspiration, challenge, and truth, it will generate creativity, energy, and resilience. What enters your mind repeatedly becomes the substance of your beliefs, and your beliefs become the framework of your life. Imagine two people starting their day. The first wakes up and scrolls through social media, absorbing complaints, arguments, and images of comparison. The second spends the same 20 minutes reading a few pages of an inspiring book or journaling their intentions for the day. Both are feeding their minds, but one is feeding the fire of distraction, while the other is feeding the fire of focus. Over time, that small difference compounds into entirely different lives. Feeding the flame doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means becoming selective, intentional about what you let influence you. You must choose what deserves space in your mental landscape. Every thought is a seed. If you keep planting weeds, you can't expect roses to grow. To feed your flame, begin with curiosity. Curiosity is the appetite of the mind. It pushes you to explore, to question, to seek understanding. When you follow curiosity, you naturally expand your awareness. Read widely, listen deeply, challenge your assumptions. Curiosity feeds your fire with oxygen. It keeps it alive and moving, preventing stagnation. The next source of fuel is growth. The mind thrives when it is stretched. Growth isn't just about acquiring knowledge, it's about pushing yourself beyond comfort. When you take on challenges, learn new skills, and face fears, you give your mind something to burn, something to transform into strength. Growth requires friction. Just as fire refines metal, struggle refines you. Without resistance, you remain soft. With it, you become sharp. You must also feed your flame with purpose. A fire without direction can burn wildly and destructively, but a fire with purpose provides warmth and light. Purpose gives your mind a reason to endure discomfort and stay disciplined. When you know why you're doing something, every effort has meaning. Even pain becomes part of progress. Purpose transforms ordinary tasks into sacred acts of creation. Energy flows where attention goes, and attention is the nourishment of your inner fire. Each time you focus on what empowers you instead of what drains you, the flame strengthens. Gratitude, for example, is one of the purest fuels for the mind. When you focus on what's good, you multiply it. When you focus on what's missing, you deplete your energy. A grateful mind is a bright mind. It turns even hardship into heat. But be aware, some fuels burn quickly and leave you empty. Short bursts of motivation, comfort-seeking habits, and constant validation are like dry leaves on a fire. They create a flash of excitement, but vanish fast. Sustainable fire needs solid wood, discipline, patience, long-term thinking. Feed your mind with things that endure, timeless wisdom, self-mastery, acts of kindness, deep learning. These are the coals that keep burning even when external winds blow cold. Every day you are feeding something. The question is, what? Are you feeding distraction or discipline? Doubt or determination? Anxiety or awareness? Every time you choose to watch, read, or think about something, you are making an offering to the fire. Choose wisely, because your mind is always listening. Feeding the flame also means surrounding yourself with other fires. Energy is contagious. Spend time with people who burn brightly, those who challenge you to think deeper, act braver, and dream bigger. The fire of one mind can ignite another. The conversations you have and the environments you inhabit shape the temperature of your thoughts. Protect your energy as you would guard a sacred flame from the wind. It's important to understand that feeding your flame isn't always comfortable. Growth burns. When you expose yourself to new ideas, they can unsettle you. When you step outside your comfort zone, you will feel the heat of resistance. That's a good sign. It means your old limitations are being consumed. Fire doesn't ask for permission to transform. It simply does. You too must be willing to let go of what no longer serves you. Many people starve their inner fire without realizing it. They overconsume information without reflection. They seek comfort instead of challenge. They drown their mental spark with constant noise. But to feed your flame properly, you must also value silence. A quiet mind digests knowledge, turns it into wisdom, and channels it into purposeful action. Silence is the space where the fire breathes. Think of your mind as a living ecosystem. It needs balance. Too much external input and you become overwhelmed. Too little and you stagnate. Feed your flame with variety, learning, reflection, movement and rest. Read, but also think. Work, but also pause. Speak, but also listen. The flame thrives not on intensity alone, but on rhythm. When you consistently feed your mind with empowering fuel, something remarkable happens. You start generating your own fire. You no longer depend on external motivation because you have built an internal source of energy. Challenges no longer intimidate you, they excite you. The same obstacles that once felt heavy now feel like sparks to ignite your creativity. You begin to realize that the fire was never meant to be controlled by the world outside you. It belongs entirely to you. Feeding the flame is a daily practice. It's in the books you read, the choices you make, the way you speak to yourself, the way you respond to setbacks. Every day you have the opportunity to add to your fire or extinguish it. The choice is continuous, and the effect is cumulative. Remember, the greatest infernos often start with a single ember. The small acts of feeding your flame, 10 minutes of focus, one courageous conversation, one moment of gratitude, build over time. The person who tends to their inner fire daily eventually becomes a source of light for others. Your mind is not a vessel to be filled. It is a flame to be kindled. Every experience, every idea, every challenge is fuel waiting to be transformed into energy. The question is not whether you have fire within you, you do. The real question is whether you will keep feeding it, or let it fade into smoke. Feed your mind with what makes you stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more alive. Feed it with stories of triumph, with lessons of failure, with visions of what's possible. Protect your flame from the winds of negativity, and it will burn long after others have gone cold. Awareness lit the spark. Feeding the flame keeps it alive. And once you learn to nourish your mind with purpose and intention, the light you carry will never go out. Chapter 3. Burning through fear. Fear. It's the oldest companion of the human mind. It waits at the edge of every dream, at the start of every new chapter, and in the heart of every unknown. For most people, fear is a signal to stop. For the few who understand its purpose, fear is a signal to begin. If awareness lit your spark and knowledge fed your flame, then courage, true courage, is what allows that fire to burn freely. To live without facing your fears is to live with your fire trapped behind glass. To burn through fear is to release your full power. Fear was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to protect you. In the earliest days of humanity, fear kept us alive. It sharpened our senses, warned us of danger, and taught us caution. But in the modern world, most of our fears aren't about survival. They're about comfort. We fear failure, rejection, embarrassment, uncertainty. These are not threats to our lives, but to our ego, our sense of identity, and our imagined safety. Fear in this form becomes a cage built from thought, and that cage can only burn away when you bring the fire of awareness to it. The first step to burning through fear is to name it. Unnamed fear grows in the dark. When you speak it, write it, or confront it directly, it begins to lose its hold. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? What am I really protecting myself from? Often, you'll find that beneath every fear lies a simple truth. You are afraid of being uncomfortable, but greatness is born in discomfort. Every breakthrough, every transformation, every act of growth comes from walking through what once scared you. Imagine standing before a wall of fire. It looks terrifying, and your instincts scream at you to step back. But what if that wall isn't meant to stop you? What if it's meant to purify you? On the other side of that fire is the person you are capable of becoming. The only way through is to walk directly into it. The heat will sting, but it will also burn away everything false. Your doubts, your excuses, your illusions of limitation. The pain you feel isn't destruction, it's refinement. Every time you face your fears, you're teaching your mind a new lesson. You're rewiring your inner system to understand that fear doesn't equal danger, it equals expansion. The body reacts to fear as if it's a threat, because the mind doesn't yet recognize the difference between what's physically harmful and what's emotionally challenging. But once you've stepped through fear a few times, you start to realize the truth. Your mind screams the loudest right before you step into growth. Consider how fire transforms everything it touches. It doesn't ask permission, it simply changes form. In the same way, fear transforms when you stop resisting it. When you allow yourself to feel it fully, it turns into energy. That nervous tension in your stomach, that racing heart, that rush of adrenaline, all of it is energy waiting to be used. Fear is fuel in disguise. The key is to channel it toward creation rather than paralysis. One of the most powerful ways to burn through fear is to take action while afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's movement in spite of it. The greatest minds and leaders throughout history have all admitted to feeling fear. They just refused to let it dictate their choices. Action is the fire that consumes fear. The longer you hesitate, the stronger fear grows. But once you take a single step forward, the fire of movement burns through doubt. Think about the first time you did something that once terrified you, speaking in public, taking a risk, standing up for yourself. The fear before it felt enormous. But once you acted, that fear evaporated. It was never the situation that scared you, it was your imagination. Fear is a story the mind tells about what could go wrong. Awareness exposes it as fiction. Action rewrites it as truth. When you live in fear, your mind becomes like a room with the curtains drawn. You can't see the world clearly. Everything feels smaller and darker, but when you confront fear, it's like opening the curtains, the light rushes in, and suddenly you realize how much space you have to move. Fear limits perception, burning through fear expands it. There is also a deeper layer of fear, the fear of your own power. Many people stay small because they are unconsciously afraid of what they're capable of. Power comes with responsibility, and responsibility demands growth. It's easier to hide behind excuses than to embrace your potential. But your fire was not meant to be contained. The longer you suppress it, the more restless it becomes. True peace doesn't come from avoiding fear, it comes from walking through it until nothing is left to hide from. To burn through fear, you must first accept it as a teacher. Fear shows you where your boundaries are, and boundaries can be expanded. Each fear is a signpost pointing to a part of yourself that wants to grow. When you avoid fear, you freeze your evolution. When you face it, you evolve faster than you thought possible. Ask yourself, what would my life look like if I stopped letting fear decide for me? Another way to transform fear is through perspective. What you call fear, another person might call excitement. The sensations are nearly identical: the quickened heartbeat, the focus, the energy. The only difference is interpretation. When you tell your mind, "This is excitement," the body begins to respond differently. The same fire that once burned you now warms you. Reframing fear turns resistance into readiness. But burning through fear isn't a one-time event, it's a lifelong process. Every new level of growth introduces new challenges, and with them new fears. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to master your relationship with it. You must learn to dance with it, to use its energy as momentum. When fear arises, instead of running, lean in, observe it, thank it, and then move forward anyway. That's how courage is forged. There's a story of a blacksmith who worked in near darkness, striking metal in the glow of fire. Each time he placed the iron into the flame, it softened. Each time he struck it, it became stronger. Life works the same way. The fire of fear softens the mind, making it ready for shaping. The strikes of experience harden it into wisdom. Without that heat, there can be no transformation. Burning through fear also means burning away the illusion of control. We fear uncertainty because we believe we can control outcomes. But the truth is, life was never meant to be fully predictable. The unknown is not your enemy, it's your ally. It's where creativity, discovery, and possibility live. When you surrender your need for control, you free your mind to explore. Fear loses its foundation when you accept that not knowing is part of the adventure. Remember, fear thrives in silence and dies in truth. Speak about it, write about it, move through it, don't hide from it. Every time you bring it into the light of awareness, it weakens. Eventually you'll find that what once terrified you has become your source of confidence. The same flames that once threatened to consume you now illuminate your path. To burn through fear is to reclaim your mind. It's to declare that you will no longer be ruled by imagined limits. You will feel the heat, you will tremble, but you will move forward. And each time you do, your inner fire grows stronger, steadier, and brighter. Fear doesn't disappear, it evolves. The goal isn't to live without fear, but to live beyond it. When you burn through fear, you become the fire itself, untouchable, unstoppable, and alive. And from that point on, every time fear appears, you'll know it's simply a sign that you're standing on the edge of greatness once again. Chapter 4. The Discipline of Heat. A wildfire burns without purpose. It consumes everything in its path. But a controlled fire, guided by intent, becomes a forge. It melts, molds, and refines. That's what discipline does for the mind. It channels raw energy into focused strength. Without discipline, your inner fire either fizzles out or destroys everything it touches. With it, that same fire becomes unstoppable. Discipline is not about punishment, it's about alignment. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate, it's about committing to what matters most. Think of discipline as the structure that allows your fire to grow safely and powerfully. Without boundaries, flames spread and vanish. With boundaries, they become light and warmth. Every great achievement, every extraordinary life has been built on discipline. Talent sparks the flame. Motivation fuels it, but discipline sustains it. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls with your mood. Discipline is structural. It stays when the excitement fades. The disciplined mind doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" It simply says, "This is who I am. This is what I do." Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about restriction. In truth, discipline is freedom. When you train your mind to focus, you're no longer a slave to distraction. When you build consistency, you're no longer dependent on fleeting bursts of willpower. Discipline frees you from chaos. It gives you mastery over yourself. Imagine a blacksmith hammering metal. The heat of the forge softens the steel, but it's the repeated, rhythmic strikes that shape it into something strong. The same is true for your mind. Passion softens your resistance, but repetition forms your power. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you strike the hammer again. Each strike may feel small, but over time, it forges a mind of iron. The discipline of heat is about embracing the process. True mastery isn't born in moments of inspiration. It's born in the monotony of consistency. The athlete who trains daily, even when exhausted, the writer who puts down words on bad days, the entrepreneur who keeps building after failure. These are the ones who turn fire into form. Discipline means you keep showing up to the fire, no matter how hot it gets. And make no mistake, the heat will test you. Discipline is forged in resistance. It's easy to commit when life is smooth. It's when challenges arise that your discipline is revealed. There will be days when everything in you screams to stop, when the mind whispers excuses, when comfort calls louder than purpose. Those are the moments that define you. The disciplined don't run from the heat. They learn to breathe within it. The truth is, your mind wants comfort. It's wired to avoid pain, to seek ease, but growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Discipline teaches your mind that pain isn't punishment, it's progress. When you push through the resistance of fatigue, distraction, or doubt, you're reprogramming your brain. You're proving to yourself that you can act independently of feeling. That is real power, to choose action even when the emotion says no. Discipline doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. Missing one day doesn't destroy the fire, but giving up on yourself does. The disciplined person understands that consistency beats intensity. 1 hour every day for a year is more powerful than 10 hours once a month. Discipline is built in the small, steady flames of daily effort, not the explosions of motivation. There's an ancient saying, "The same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg." The difference isn't the heat, it's what each one is made of. The same challenges that break some people can strengthen others. The difference lies in discipline. When you train your mind to face adversity with focus, you become harder to break, harder to discourage, harder to stop. The discipline of heat also requires patience. Fire doesn't instantly forge steel. It takes time. Growth, success, transformation, all of it unfolds through sustained effort. In a world obsessed with quick results, patience is your competitive edge. While others quit at the first sign of struggle, you stay in the fire, trusting that the process is working even when the results aren't visible yet. Think of your discipline as a sacred ritual. It's not a punishment, it's a devotion. When you commit to your daily practice, you are worshipping the best version of yourself. Whether it's reading, training, meditating, or building, discipline turns ordinary actions into sacred acts. Each repetition whispers, "I'm becoming who I'm meant to be." But to maintain discipline, you must protect your energy. Fire needs oxygen. If you burn too fast, you'll exhaust yourself. Discipline is not just about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. It's the art of focused effort. You don't have to say yes to everything. You have to say yes to what aligns with your purpose and no to what distracts you. Every no you say is oxygen for your flame. You must also forgive yourself in the process. Discipline is not self-hatred, it's self-respect. When you fall short, when you miss a day, when you stumble, don't extinguish your fire with guilt. Instead, return to the path. Guilt keeps you stuck. Recommitment keeps you moving. The most disciplined people are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who never stop returning to the fire. Discipline also thrives in structure. Build routines that support your focus. Wake up with intention. Guard your mornings from distraction. They set the tone for your entire day. Schedule what matters and honor it like a sacred appointment. Small structures create big freedom. When you know what to do and when to do it, your mind can rest and your energy can flow into the work itself. Understand this: discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It doesn't remove obstacles. It prepares you to overcome them. Each act of discipline expands your capacity for resilience. It's how you turn the heat of life, the stress, the struggle, the setbacks into strength. And over time, something beautiful happens. The habits that once required discipline become natural. The things you once forced yourself to do become things you crave. The fire no longer feels like punishment, it feels like purpose. Discipline stops being an external command and becomes an internal rhythm. It becomes who you are. Remember, your mind is the forge and your thoughts are the metal. The world will bring heat, challenges, uncertainty, pain, but it's your discipline that decides what you become under that heat. Will you melt and lose form, or will you harden into something unbreakable? The discipline of heat is about control through surrender. You can't control how hot the fire burns, but you can control how you show up in it. You can choose to see every challenge as a chance to refine your character. Each difficult day is another strike of the hammer. Each moment of persistence adds strength to your spirit. Keep showing up, keep swinging, keep feeding the fire. Discipline is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. It's the decision to keep walking through the heat until your purpose shines brighter than your fear. When you master the discipline of heat, you become unshakable. You stop fearing the fire because you've learned to live within it. You understand that the same force that burns can also build. And once you realize that, nothing, no setback, no failure, no pain can extinguish you. Your fire is ready. The heat is here. The forge awaits. Step into it, not with hesitation, but with faith, because the person who emerges from that fire will not be the same one who entered. They will be forged in discipline, tempered, strong and unstoppable. Chapter 5. The Power of Thought Transformation. Your life is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you think about what happens to you. Every experience, every challenge, every emotion begins as a thought. The mind is the lens through which you see the world, and if that lens is fogged with fear, doubt or negativity, everything appears distorted. But when you learn to transform your thoughts, you learn to transform your entire reality. The power of thought transformation lies in understanding one simple truth: your thoughts are not facts. They are interpretations, stories, energy in motion. They are suggestions from your mind, not commands. Yet most people live as if every thought is the truth. They believe the voice in their head that says, "You're not ready, you're not good enough, you'll fail again." They mistake mental noise for reality. The first step toward transformation is recognizing that you are not your thoughts, you are the one observing them. Imagine standing by a flowing river. Each thought is like a leaf drifting downstream. You don't have to grab every leaf. You don't have to jump into the water and get carried away. You can simply watch. The act of observing creates space, and in that space, transformation begins. When you step back from your thoughts, you reclaim your power of choice. You can choose which thoughts to entertain and which to release. Your mind has been trained over years, often unconsciously, to think in certain patterns. Some are empowering, but many are limiting. You inherited beliefs from parents, teachers, culture, and past experiences. Perhaps you were told that success requires luck, that love demands sacrifice, or that you're not meant for greatness. These beliefs live in your subconscious, like old scripts running on autopilot. They shape your perception without you realizing it. Thought transformation is the process of rewriting those scripts consciously. Start by noticing your recurring thoughts. What do you tell yourself when you fail? What do you believe about your abilities, your worth, your potential? Most people repeat the same inner dialogue every day, unaware that it defines their boundaries. The words you use internally are the architecture of your reality. When you tell yourself, "I can't," your mind closes. When you ask, "How can I?" your mind opens. The smallest shift in phrasing can redirect your entire future. Transformation begins with awareness, but it deepens through practice. Every time you challenge a negative thought, you are reprogramming your mind. For example, when you think, "I always mess things up," pause, ask yourself, "Is that really true?" Replace it with, "Sometimes I struggle, but I learn quickly and get better." It might feel awkward at first, but repetition creates new neural pathways. Your brain literally reshapes itself in response to consistent conscious thought. This is not metaphor, it's neuroscience. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, proves that your thoughts can sculpt your reality on a biological level. When you think empowering thoughts, you strengthen circuits of confidence, creativity, and resilience. When you dwell on fear or doubt, you reinforce the pathways of anxiety. Each thought is a brushstroke on the canvas of your mind. Over time, those strokes form the picture you live within. But transformation is not about ignoring negativity, it's about transforming its energy. Pretending everything is fine when it's not isn't strength, it's denial. Real transformation begins when you face your darkness and transmute it. Every painful experience carries a lesson, and every fearful thought holds potential energy. When you ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" you turn pain into power. Let's take an example. Suppose you lose an opportunity. The immediate thought might be, "I failed." But if you examine it deeper, you might realize, "This is guiding me towards something more aligned." The event hasn't changed, only your interpretation has, yet that shift changes everything about how you feel and act. The first version creates paralysis, the second creates momentum. This is the essence of thought transformation. Changing the meaning changes the outcome. The great minds of history understood this. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Buddha taught that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. Modern psychology echoes the same truth. Thoughts shape emotions, and emotions drive behavior. By mastering your thoughts, you master the chain reaction that determines your destiny. But here's the paradox. Transforming your thoughts doesn't mean forcing positivity. The goal is not to plaster a smile over pain. The goal is to see clearly. Sometimes the most empowering thought isn't "everything is great, but I can handle this." Sometimes it's "this hurts, but I'll grow from it." True power comes from honest optimism, the kind rooted in awareness, not avoidance. To transform your thoughts, practice 3 disciplines: observation, reframing, and repetition. Observation is the art of awareness. Throughout the day, pay attention to what your mind says. Notice especially the automatic reactions. When you make a mistake, when someone criticizes you, when things don't go as planned. What's the story your mind tells in those moments? Catching the story is half the battle. Reframing is the art of perspective. When a limiting thought arises, look for an empowering interpretation. Instead of "this setback means I'm failing," try "this setback means I'm learning." Instead of "I don't know how," try "I haven't figured it out yet." Language matters. The word "yet" transforms impossibility into possibility. Repetition is the art of rewiring. Your old patterns were built through repetition. Your new ones must be too. Affirmations aren't magic spells. They're mental exercises. The more you repeat a belief, the more it becomes natural. Don't just say, "I am confident," act like it, speak like it, move like it. Behavior reinforces thought, and thought reinforces behavior. Transformation is a loop. Another powerful technique is mental substitution. When an unhelpful thought enters, say, "I'm not ready," replace it with a question that activates your higher mind. What would being ready look like? What's one thing I can do right now to prepare? Questions ignite the creative brain. They turn worry into problem solving. A transformed mind doesn't silence fear, it redirects it into curiosity. Over time, as you practice these disciplines, your inner world begins to change. You'll notice yourself responding differently to the same situations. The things that once triggered anxiety will now spark reflection. The setbacks that once discouraged you will fuel determination. You'll stop being a victim of thought and become a sculptor of it. Thought transformation also requires emotional honesty. Many people try to think positive while suppressing pain, but unprocessed emotions don't disappear, they fester. Instead, allow yourself to feel fully, then guide those feelings with conscious thought. Say to yourself, "I feel fear right now, and that's okay. It means I'm growing." By acknowledging emotion without judgment, you integrate it into strength. The greatest minds and creators throughout history have practiced this art. When Thomas Edison failed thousands of times to invent the light bulb, he didn't think, "I've failed again." He thought, "I've discovered another way that doesn't work." That single shift in interpretation transformed frustration into progress. The difference between those who quit and those who succeed is not intelligence, it's how they think about failure. Even your self-identity can be transformed through thought. When you repeatedly tell yourself, "I'm not disciplined," "I'm not creative," or "I'm not confident," you are hypnotizing yourself with limitation. Instead, begin every self-definition with possibility. Say, "I'm becoming disciplined," "I'm learning to be creative," "I'm growing in confidence." The mind believes what it hears often enough. Over time, these new statements become truth. Transformation also extends to how you think about others. Judgment, resentment, and jealousy are forms of mental poison. They dim your fire. Compassion and understanding purify it. When you catch yourself thinking critically of someone, pause and shift to curiosity. What pain might they be carrying? What can I learn from them? This not only frees you from negativity, but expands your emotional intelligence. There's immense power in gratitude as a tool of thought transformation. Gratitude is the alchemy of the mind. It turns scarcity into abundance, loss into appreciation. When you train your mind to notice what's good, even in hardship, you transform suffering into strength. Each day, take a moment to reflect. What am I thankful for right now? Gratitude redirects your focus from what's missing to what's possible. In time, you'll realize that thought transformation is not about controlling the mind, it's about collaborating with it. The goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts, it's to lead them. You become the conductor of your mental orchestra, turning noise into harmony. Some notes will still be dissonant, but together they create a masterpiece. When your thoughts transform, everything else follows. Your words change, your posture changes, your energy changes. You begin to see challenges as opportunities and failures as feedback. The world around you may stay the same, but your inner world becomes luminous. And because your perception shapes your experience, your reality begins to rise to meet your new vibration. Remember, the fire of your mind burns according to the fuel of your thoughts. Negative thinking smothers it in smoke. Empowered thinking turns it into light. You have the power at any moment to redirect that fire, to refine it, to focus it, to make it serve your highest purpose. The power of thought transformation is not a mystical idea. It's a discipline. It's the daily decision to observe, reframe, and realign your inner dialogue. Each time you do, you shift from reaction to creation. You stop being the product of your circumstances and become the architect of them. So the next time a limiting thought arises, and it will, pause. Look it in the eye and say, "I see you, but I'm choosing differently now." That's how transformation happens. One thought, one breath, one conscious choice at a time. In the end, your mind is both the fire and the forge. Your thoughts are the raw material, and the life you build, the strength, the peace, the purpose, is the masterpiece born from the flames of your own transformation. Chapter 6. Rising from the Ashes. There comes a moment in every person's journey when everything seems to fall apart. The plans you made crumble, the path you were walking disappears, the fire you've been tending seems to burn out, leaving behind nothing but smoke and silence. It is in these moments, when the flames have died and only ashes remain, that the real transformation begins. Rising from the ashes is not just about recovery, it's about rebirth. The ashes are proof that you were once burning, that you dared to live, that you gave your energy and your heart to something. They are the remains of your effort, your struggle, your previous self. To rise from them is to take what was lost, learn from it, and use it as the foundation for your next evolution. When life falls apart, it often feels like destruction, but destruction and creation are two sides of the same fire. What burns away makes room for what's new. The loss of what you once were is not the end, it's the clearing of space for who you are becoming. Every forest needs fire to grow anew. The same is true for you. The first stage of rising from the ashes is acceptance. You cannot rebuild while clinging to what's already gone. Many people waste years resisting their losses, replaying the pain, asking "why me?" instead of asking "what now?" Acceptance doesn't mean liking what happened. It means acknowledging it fully so that healing can begin. Pain denied becomes pain prolonged. Pain accepted becomes power transformed. There's a quiet strength in letting go. When you stop fighting the inevitable, your energy returns to you. Acceptance doesn't make you weak. It makes you clear. It's like standing in the ruins of your old life, breathing in the smoke, and realizing that while everything familiar has fallen, you are still here, still breathing, still capable of rebuilding. The second stage is reflection. The ashes hold wisdom if you're willing to look closely. Every ending carries lessons about who you were and what you need to become. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? What patterns led me here? What strength did I discover that I never knew I had? Reflection turns tragedy into teacher. Without it, pain is just suffering. With it, pain becomes evolution. Reflection also reveals something powerful. Often what you lost was never truly meant for you in the form it existed. The job, the relationship, the plan, the version of yourself you thought you needed, these were stepping stones, not final destinations. When you rise from the ashes, you realize that the things you once begged the universe to protect were actually holding you back from your next chapter. The third stage is reconstruction. This is where the fire becomes your ally again. It's where you start to build from what remains, not from what was. The ashes are fertile soil. What was destroyed has broken down into raw potential. Every ending contains the ingredients of a new beginning. You don't need to rebuild the old structure. You're meant to create something stronger, something truer to who you are now. But reconstruction requires courage. After being burned, you fear the fire. You hesitate to trust, to try, to dream again. You tell yourself, I can't go through that again. But if you stay in the ashes too long, you suffocate. The secret to rising is movement, small, consistent acts of creation. Take one step, one decision, one act of faith at a time. The spark returns not in a flash, but in steady embers of action. When you rebuild, start with your inner foundation. Strengthen your mind, nurture your peace, restore your self-belief. The external world will follow. Many people try to fix their circumstances without first tending to their spirit. But if your inner world is chaotic, everything you build will crumble again. The fire burned away what was false. Now it's your chance to construct something real. There's a story of the mythical phoenix, a bird that burns to ash and then rises again, more radiant than before. The beauty of the phoenix isn't just in its rebirth, but in its willingness to burn. It doesn't fear the fire because it knows it cannot be truly destroyed. It understands that death and rebirth are part of the same cycle. The same is true for you. You are not what was destroyed. You are the energy that rises again. The moment you realize that your spirit cannot be broken, everything changes. You stop fearing loss. You stop clinging to what's temporary. You begin to live with a quiet, unshakable confidence that whatever happens, you will rise, you will adapt, you will grow stronger. That is the essence of resilience, not avoiding pain but transmuting it into power. Rising from the ashes also means forgiving yourself. The hardest part of healing isn't forgiving others, it's forgiving your own mistakes, your own blindness, your own hesitations. You did the best you could with the awareness you had. Self-forgiveness is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Without it, you stay trapped in the smoke of guilt. When you forgive yourself, the fire inside reignites. Shame extinguishes potential, self-compassion restores it. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love who has fallen. Encourage, not condemn. The voice you use with yourself determines how high you'll rise. The process of rising is not instant. It's slow, uneven, and sometimes painful. There will be days when the ashes feel heavy, when progress feels invisible, when you wonder if the fire will ever return. In those moments, remember, even the smallest ember can start a new blaze. Don't rush your healing. Nurture it. Feed it with faith, patience, and consistency. In time, you'll begin to notice small shifts, the heaviness lifting, the mind clearing, the spark of motivation returning. These are signs that your inner flame is rebuilding itself, and when it burns again, it will burn differently. It will be steadier, wiser, more intentional. You'll no longer burn for approval or validation. You'll burn for purpose. One of the greatest gifts of loss is clarity. When everything you depended on is stripped away, what remains is truth. You discover what truly matters, your integrity, your vision, your connection to life itself. The ashes simplify you. They remove the noise. You become grounded in what's real. And from that groundedness you begin to rise, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. Your scars become symbols of strength. Your pain becomes empathy. Your survival becomes your story. The fire that once consumed you becomes the light that guides others out of their own darkness. You see, rising from the ashes isn't just a personal victory, it's a contribution. When you rise, you show others that it's possible. Your resilience becomes their permission. Your courage becomes their inspiration. In this way, your suffering transforms into service. You carry your light forward, not just for yourself, but for everyone still lost in the smoke. There's a quiet dignity in starting over, a beauty in rebuilding from nothing, because when you rise from the ashes, you no longer build from ego, you build from essence. You stop trying to prove something to the world and start living as an expression of your truth. The old you burned away so the real you could emerge. The ashes were never the end. They were the beginning of a different kind of fire, one that no storm can extinguish. You've walked through destruction, but you've learned to trust your own resilience. You've discovered that the mind once set ablaze with purpose can rise endlessly again and again. So when life breaks you open, don't fear the fire, let it burn what must go. Trust that what's left, your heart, your will, your awareness, will be more powerful than before. You are not meant to stay in the ruins, you are meant to rise. Rise from the ashes with grace, with patience, with power. Let your rebirth be your message to the world that no matter how fierce the flames, the mind that chooses to rise cannot be destroyed. It can only be reborn, brighter, bolder, and more alive than ever before. Chapter 7. Becoming the Flame. There comes a time in every seeker's journey when the fire no longer feels separate, when it no longer burns around you, but within you. You stop tending to it as something fragile, something that needs protection, and instead you realize you are the fire. You are the source, the spark, the heat, and the light. Everything you've endured, every burn, every scar, every rise, was preparing you for this moment. The moment you stop searching for the fire and start embodying it. To become the flame is to live in full alignment with your power. It is to move through life not as a victim of circumstance, but as a creator of reality. The flame does not ask permission to burn. It simply burns. It transforms everything it touches. It provides warmth and light, but it can also destroy what no longer serves life. When you become the flame, you gain that same dual power, the power to heal, to illuminate, and to let go of what holds you back. In earlier chapters, you learned to awaken awareness, feed your flame, burn through fear, discipline your energy, transform your thoughts, and rise from the ashes. These were the steps of ignition. Now comes embodiment. Becoming the flame means you no longer need external fuel to keep you alive. You are self-generating. You've learned how to transform adversity into energy, how to channel emotion into focus, and how to stay steady amid chaos. You have become your own source of light. But what does it mean, practically, to be the flame? It means you've stopped chasing motivation because you've built momentum. You no longer depend on external validation or fleeting excitement to drive you. You move from inner purpose. You know who you are, and you act in alignment with that knowing. When others doubt you, it doesn't shake you. When the world is dark, you keep burning. To become the flame is to embody clarity. Fire never hesitates about its nature. It knows what it is and what it does. It burns, transforms, and releases. Humans, however, spend years doubting, hesitating, and apologizing for their own power. When you reach this level of awareness, you begin to act with the same certainty as fire. You no longer waste energy second-guessing yourself. You trust your intuition because it has been forged in heat and tested in pain. This level of being isn't loud or boastful. It's calm, grounded, and certain. True fire doesn't need to announce itself. Its presence is undeniable. You can feel it in the warmth of a room, in the confidence of a word, in the steady gaze of someone who has walked through darkness and no longer fears it. That is the energy of someone who has become the flame. But to live as the flame, you must embrace responsibility. Fire gives life, but it can also consume. Your power, if left unchecked, can turn into arrogance, aggression, or control. That's why humility must accompany strength. Fire guided by ego destroys. Fire guided by purpose illuminates. The mind that has become the flame understands this balance. It uses power with awareness, passion with direction, emotion with discipline. Responsibility also means accepting that you are now a source of energy for others. People will be drawn to your light. Some will come to learn from it, others to test it, and a few to try to extinguish it. But when you are the flame, you no longer react. You no longer dim yourself to make others comfortable. Instead, you burn with compassion and firmness, teaching by presence more than by words. Your consistency becomes your lesson. You'll notice that when you truly embody your power, you no longer chase outcomes. The flame does not worry about where it will spread. It simply burns brightly in the present moment, trusting that its warmth and light will reach wherever they are needed. Becoming the flame means releasing control. It means doing your best and letting go of the rest. You act from purpose, not pressure. You move from flow, not force. To become the flame, you must also embrace vulnerability. Fire is beautiful because it's open. It exposes itself completely, showing its movement, its color, its energy. To live like fire is to live authentically, with nothing hidden. It's to speak truthfully, to feel deeply, to show up fully. The mind that hides behind fear or pretense is like a fire trapped under glass. It suffocates. But when you open yourself, even to discomfort, your energy expands. Vulnerability is oxygen for the flame of the soul. Becoming the flame also means understanding presence. Fire exists only in the now. It doesn't cling to yesterday's fuel or worry about tomorrow's wind. It burns in the current moment with complete intensity. When you become the flame, you stop living in your past stories and future anxieties. You inhabit the moment completely, giving your full energy to whatever is before you. Every action, no matter how small, becomes sacred because it is done with full awareness. Presence transforms ordinary experiences into extraordinary ones. Eating, walking, working, resting, all become expressions of your inner fire. You stop rushing through life. You stop chasing someday. You begin to live with deep appreciation for the here and now. That is where the flame truly lives. But even as the flame, you will face challenges. The winds of doubt, fear, and external pressure will try to extinguish you. People may misunderstand your intensity. Life will test your endurance. Yet each test will only make you brighter, because you've learned that every gust of wind either blows out weak flames or strengthens strong ones. You have become the kind of fire that bends but never breaks, that dances even when the storm rages. One of the most powerful aspects of becoming the flame is detachment. When you are the fire, you no longer cling to outcomes, possessions, or identities. You understand that everything is temporary, that even your form will one day return to ash, and that's beautiful. Because your essence, your energy, your fire is eternal, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering over what you can't control. You love fully, give fully, and release freely. This detachment gives rise to peace. Imagine a flame flickering in the night. It doesn't resist the darkness. It simply shines within it. It doesn't try to light the entire sky. It knows its light is enough. In that simplicity lies true power. The person who has become the flame no longer fights life. They flow with it, knowing that every experience feeds their growth. Another dimension of becoming the flame is service. The highest purpose of fire is not just to exist. It is to give light and warmth to others. When your mind burns with wisdom and purpose, that energy naturally radiates outward. You inspire not by preaching, but by being. Your presence alone becomes a torch for those still lost in the dark. You don't need to fix others. You only need to shine, to live as proof that transformation is possible. The fire you've built was never meant to be contained. Once you become the flame, your light becomes a force of creation in the world. Your words ignite ideas. Your actions spark change. Your courage awakens courage in others. That's how revolutions, inner and outer, begin, one mind catching fire, and then another and another. Still, becoming the flame is not the end of the journey, it is the beginning of a new cycle. Every flame eventually turns back into ash, not as a sign of failure, but as part of nature's rhythm. You too will evolve through countless transformations. The goal isn't to stay the same, it's to keep burning, learning, and rebirthing. The flame doesn't fear its end because it knows that its essence continues, transferred, shared, reborn in new forms. Living as the flame means waking each day with gratitude for the chance to burn again. It means carrying light into spaces that have forgotten warmth. It means daring to live fully, knowing that your time is precious. The flame doesn't wait for permission to shine, neither should you. To be the flame is to live awake, to see the divine energy in all things, to feel the connection between your inner fire and the fire of the universe. You begin to realize that every sunrise, every heartbeat, every breath is a flicker of that same cosmic energy. You are not separate from the fire of creation, you are it expressed in human form. When you live like this, fear fades, doubt dissolves, the boundaries between who you are and what you do disappear. Every word you speak, every step you take, carries energy, purpose, and light. You no longer seek greatness, you embody it. So stand tall in your fire. Let your presence warm those who are cold, guide those who are lost, and inspire those who have forgotten their own light. Burn not to destroy, but to illuminate. Burn not for recognition, but for truth. You have walked through darkness, through fear, through loss, and rebirth. You have learned awareness, fed your flame, faced your shadows, built discipline, transformed your thoughts, and risen from the ashes. Now you stand as the living embodiment of that journey. You are the fire that no storm can extinguish. Becoming the flame means this: you are no longer just living, you are alive, fiercely, freely, fully. You are no longer seeking light, you are the light. You are the spark that ignites change, the warmth that gives life, the brilliance that reminds others what's possible. And as you burn, the world around you transforms, not because you demanded it to, but because the fire within you made it inevitable. The journey of the mind is not a straight path, it's a fire that burns, dies, and reignites over and over again. You began with a spark, a flicker of awareness that showed you there was more to life than the limits you'd been living within. You learned to feed that spark, to give it strength and meaning. You faced fear, walked through it, and discovered that fear was never your enemy, it was your test. You embraced the discipline of heat, allowing the fire to shape you rather than consume you. You learned the alchemy of thought transformation, turning darkness into wisdom and pain into power. You rose from the ashes of everything you thought you had to be, and finally, you became the flame itself. But this journey doesn't end here. Fire doesn't stop burning once it finds its purpose. It continues to move, to evolve, to spread warmth and light. You are now part of that endless flame. The lessons you've learned are not meant to stay on the page or in your mind. They are meant to be lived, embodied, and shared. Each time you speak with truth, act with courage, or rise after falling, the fire lives through you. There will still be days of smoke and ash, days when your flame flickers and the world feels cold. But remember, even when unseen, the ember remains. It never truly dies. It waits for your breath, your focus, your choice to rise again. You carry the match within you. You always have. The fire in your mind is both your gift and your responsibility. It can destroy the false and reveal the true. It can burn away weakness and reveal strength. It can light the path for others who are lost in their own darkness. Protect it, honor it, and use it wisely. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more light. It needs minds that burn with vision, hearts that burn with compassion, and spirits that burn with purpose. That's you now. You've walked through the flames and emerged transformed. You've learned that greatness isn't found in avoiding the fire, but in learning to live within it, balanced, awake, and alive. So as this story closes, a new one begins, the one you write with your actions, your choices, your words, and your fire. Stand tall in your light. Speak your truth with warmth and strength. Keep your inner flame alive, no matter how dark the night becomes. Because the world is waiting for your fire. Let it burn.